The first thing I'm going to do is to place a couple of images on this page. So with my cursor in position where I want the first image, I can simply click the Insert Image option. Make sure you're in the Robin Eschner Behaviors folder. And remember, you can always use Site Root to make sure you're in the right folder. On the Macintosh, that's down at the bottom of your window. The images that we'll be using on this front page are all in the Images folder. And if I use thumbnails here, I can get a sneak preview. The first image that I want to insert into place is called Painting Painting. It's down here at the bottom of the list, so just select it. And let's give it some alternate text. Just going to add the word paintings because what I'm creating here is a button that links to the paintings page. Now beside this image, I'm going to add the rollover. So just add a space and use the Insert Image Objects Rollover Image. Because rollover images are so popular and so commonly used on the internet, Dreamweaver includes a special option for rollovers and a special dialog that makes this probably the easiest behavior to apply. Insert Image Objects Rollover Image, and in this dialog, you first want to give your image a name. That's especially important when you're using behaviors, because JavaScript needs an image name to target. I'm going to call this one Paintings. Now we want to find the original image. That's the image that will appear on the page when the page is first loaded. And if I use the Browse button, I want you to notice that I've named these very intentionally. So I have my Paintings Painting, which is the image that goes with painting, and then I also have an image called Painting, which is just the word paintings, and a second one called Paintings 2, which is the same image but with the red gradient. So let's start with painting. Click OK. And now for the rollover image, I want to bring in the image that will appear when a user rolls their cursor over the first image. So that one's called Paintings 2. Remember, if you're not using thumbnails, you'll still get a preview over here on the right. Now I want to give this some alternate text. And you might want to use something more descriptive, like links to the paintings page. When clicked, this should go to the main page in my paintings folder. And now I've added that image and the rollover image behind it, but I won't actually see the effect until I preview it in a browser. So let's save the page, preview, and now you see as soon as I roll my cursor over that first image, the second one appears. So let's go back and add a couple more. Again, the image on the left is just a plain little thumbnail, so I'm just inserting a normal image there, using the arrow key to move over and the space bar to add a little room there. And now I want to insert Image Object Rollover Image. I'm going to call this one Cards. Notice here too that although all that's in this image is a little bit of text, the image itself is a long white bar. That's because it's very important when you create a rollover effect that both images are exactly the same size. So even though the first image looks like it's just got a little bit of text, it's actually the same physical size as the second image with the red gradient. That's important because in the HTML code behind the scenes, there's a height and width set for that image. So both images are going to be forced to fill the same space on the page. If they're not the same physical size, you'll get some distortion in one or the other. Again, in the alt text area, I'll add a little more description, links to the cards page, and finally, when it's clicked, we want to go to the index page in the cards folder. And now let's go ahead and add one more. So first I'm just adding a normal image using alt text based on the page I'm linking to in this case. And again, inserting a rollover image, linking to the first one called berry.jpg, And the second one, berry 2. And when clicked on, I want this to go to the page in the berry folder called Index. Okay. Now, right away you notice this is probably not what I intended. Now, before I explain how I figured out a fix for this little bug, I want to preface it by saying that if you're using a different version of this program, or you've gotten an update, this may be fixed. But since I've seen this several times now, I wanted to warn you. If you have this experience, that even though I know for certain all of these images are exactly the same size, I want you to notice that this one is taking up the space it's supposed to. It's the same height as the one next to it. This one actually looks taller than the one next to it, even though I know the image itself is the same physical size. And this one is rolling down to the next line, even though I know it's the same width as the others. So here's what I discovered solved the problem. Shortening the name to just one character brought it back up on the line. So if I change this to a B instead of berry, notice that it pops right back up where it should be. Now, that will break the rollover effect, so I'm actually going to have to reset this to make it work right. But I want you to see that a single character name seems to solve this problem. Again, Adobe may fix this in future versions, but if you run into this problem, I have to say it took me a little while to figure it out. So let me use this as an excuse to just show you again how you set a rollover image, and this time we'll do it with just a single character. So let me delete that first one. Delete the second one completely. Dreamweaver's just readjusting itself there. So adding the space back, let's insert a rollover image. This time, instead of giving it a name, cards, I'm just going to use the letter C. Now, in theory, it shouldn't matter what you name your rollover image. Although I will warn you, you can't use any spaces or special characters in an image name, not even a hyphen or an underscore. You can, however, use a single character, and it'll work just fine. So let's browse, find cards, browse again, find cards 2. For now, I'm just going to keep the alt text simple since you've already seen that. We're linking to the index page in the cards section. And finally, insert, rollover image. I'll just use the letter B. We'll start with berry, then berry 2. We'll just call that berry. And when clicked, we want to link to the main page in the berry folder. Look at that. Now they all fit exactly as I intended. And if I save the page, preview it in a browser, you'll be able to see my rollover effects work perfectly.